Welcome back to another episode of Miles Annon Bodyweight Training. Today's episode is going to be slightly different in that I'm going to be taking you along with me to my gym where I'm going to be training, obviously, and you'll get an idea of what I'm doing and I'll explain also why I'm doing it. So yeah, not much more of an introduction needed for that, so let's get going. So we're going to go over this video with a little bit of commentary alongside the training. And so basically this is me just with an incredibly tight sort of thoracic part of my back. So one way I know how to make this a little bit more supple is by using the rumble roller. I actually wouldn't recommend using this 20 kilo weight plate unless you really know what you're doing, but I find for me to stay relaxed is the goal. And get pressure obviously without anyone there. Have to try and find that pressure, and I find opening up the mid-range of the mid part of the back and using the weight to get in there really sort of alleviates sort of tension in the back muscles. And then of course you can just see me here just working through range of motion, and just doing that alone helps mobilize sort of the shoulders and actually helps that rumble roller dig in more. And of course the trusted resistance band, the idea here is to just work through again real specific shoulder muscles. The idea here is to just keep the body as physically still as possible, and then just articulate at the shoulder joint using the muscles there. I do an okay job of keeping still, and of course move to the right side. Sneaky check out the camera there, and some again. But basically the idea is to just whatever feels more tight on any given side is just to sort of work that a little bit more. Pay attention, you don't have to be so symmetrical with these kind of things. You can work one side more than the other, depends on where it's at basically. Moving on to some scapular work. I've actually sped up this part of the video because it went on for a little while. So that's me. Ordinarily I wouldn't move that fast, but this video is sped up. You can tell by that guy doing some hyper box jumps in the back. But anyway, again, just articulating through the spine, getting the spine moving, at the same time hitting the wrists, rocking. These are called wrist rocks, which sort of help mobilize the wrist joint a little bit better. And you see me there just moving my knees back. That's to just load up the wrists a little bit more so that I can apply a little bit more force on them. And again, you see me do this in my last video. And here I just like to hang basically. Just let the lats and the back and the shoulder joints just stretch out a little bit, and I can you can see me just again articulating the scapula and just moving in and around that position. And checking the camera out as well. So yeah, moving on into this session, this is what we call a front support, or just the support on the rings, and I like to try and hold this and anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds. This was actually closer to 40 seconds. I thought that I would chuck in an L-sit here. It helps me mentally hold it for longer as well, but again the idea when you go into L-sit is to keep the legs dead straight. And you can see it's a lot more taxing on the body. I'm shaking a little bit, but maintaining a good shape, and then back into normal support, and then finish that up. And then I think we're going into here the dips. Ring dips are a challenge. I like that. Again, keeping massive body tension throughout the movement, all the way up and down. I like to work in the region of about 5 reps. At this point, I'm not quite strong enough to go more than that and get good sets. And with all these exercises, I'm actually looking at around sort of 3 sets, and I did 3 sets of this in total for this day. So yeah, I then mix this with some handstand work. Now, first thing you can see, I actually don't hold my handstand. Now this is actually common, and sometimes I play about mainly with where I put the handstand in my training session, and I thought I'd put it in the middle. I sometimes like to train with a little bit of fatigue. It's not always advisable when you're starting out with handstand because it's very neurologically demanding, so it helps to be as fresh as possible. But when you get okay at it, I like to see at what point I can or can't do it. So you can see here, I'm just having a real shocker not being able to hold it, and this is ultimately because I'm not in a really good position. If you watch the next one I attempt, my shoulders and my shoulders and lats are really tight, so it means that I can't get the arms nicely overhead, which is putting a lot of stress on my lower back, and it's not what I'm used to. So for me, just to hold it like that is actually very challenging. You can see here that my shoulders are quite far forward and my back is starting to round, so you know, I'm having here, my arms aren't even straight properly. I thought I would just sort of semi-planche it out. I'm not even going to call that a planche, it's more just the negative press. So then I thought I would go without the parallettes, and again I'm even struggling here just to keep the balance. You can actually see that personal trainer in the background saying, oh, look at that handstand, this is what it uses, the core, blah 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 blah. What you should be saying is, look at that terrible handstand line. But anyway, I shouldn't be so harsh on myself. But yeah, this is just the effects of, you know, fatiguing the body and getting tight and then trying the handstand. So yeah, I finish off this session basically with some conditioning work. Here is just leg raises, feet to hand. Again, I'm working every single part of the body, the lats, keeping straight arm tension, the hip flexors, the lower part of the abdominals, and the leg muscles to keep the legs perfectly straight. Even to a point, sometimes I'll actually get cramp in my foot. That's how locked everything is. And then I'll hit the reverse iron cross. It's about 12 kilos, and even that is, you know, I'm doing my best pufferfish impression there. Just to, again, 4 to 5 reps. I'm a bit more of a power athlete, so I struggle to really go more than that. I find it's optimal for me to do about 5 reps to build strength. Then these were sort of, I think these were superset actually, because they're very different from the reverse iron cross, so I cracked on with this one. I actually like these exercises. My abdominals are still killing me 2 days later, but ultimately, you know, I try to get as many of these out as I can, and the last one I tend to try and hold. I think this video is actually sped up a teeny bit. No, actually it might not be, but you get the idea. And then I think I finish off with one last exercise, which you'll see in a second, which is basically the candlestick 45-degree raise, try and pivot from the shoulders, which really helps transfer over to things like the front lever. So yeah, I basically finish it off with this video. As always, if you did like the video, please like, subscribe and share, and I will be back with a video next week, hopefully. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and thank you very much for watching as always.